somehow I'll make a smooth segue to Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston insider. Hey, Tom, how are you today?
Feel a little bit like Casey Kasem here with that
Yeah.
long distance dedication that went bad.
A dog named Snuggles.
A reporter
I do
named
hope
Snuggles.
I hope that he finds peace with both his dog and his parents.
You know what?
Certainly.
That's gonna fix it right there, Tom. Thank you for helping Lou.
Well, you gave neither thoughts nor prayers, which is to be expected. Happy New Year, Dan.
Hey, Happy New Year.
You let me go? I thought it was January 5th.
I let you go because I think you're trying to find happiness because of what's going on with the Patriots there.
Yeah. Gerard Mayo was truly safe until December began, and it was such a rapid decline, and it was an on all fronts decline. You know, the Crafts beginning the season said, we expect to struggle. I hope we don't struggle. We expect we're going to struggle. And they ended up with 4 wins, which I think if you said on the face of it, okay, it's going to be a tough year, you're going to win 4 games, they wouldn't have balked. But the nature of these last 4 games, the embarrassing loss coming off a bye to Arizona, followed by a decent representative effort against the Bills, followed by what could have been a 50-0 loss to the Chargers, really kind of sealed Gerard's fate. And it was also the messaging around those games, where the post-game press conferences were sometimes disjointed with, you'd come out of them with more questions than you went in.
Yeah.
So he was strapped to a runaway train, I think, with this roster and this team. So they made the move.
But we just talked to Albert Breer, and he brought up something interesting I had not thought of, is they put this language in Gerard Mayo's contract. So he was the coach in waiting. And then maybe they realized that he might be the coach in waiting, but he shouldn't be our coach now. Maybe that the job was a little too big for him. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it was hope against hope. And I think that the Patriots have operated really, and I've said this, and people balk and they say they won the Super Bowl in 2017. They have operated with a lack of urgency for the better part of 6 seasons. And there has been very much a tendency that Bill fostered, and oftentimes it worked, and then towards the end it didn't, and the Crafts have followed suit with, we'll see how it works out. We're going to try this. We'll see how it works out. You know, it happened with Brady. Well, he's moving on. I mean, we're pretty smart here. We'll see how it works out. Didn't work out. He wins the Super Bowl. You know, McDaniels leaves. We're going to elevate these 2 guys. We're pretty smart people. We know a lot about football. Patricia and Judge will be fine. I'm still here. We'll see how it works out. Didn't work out. And then the Crafts, I think, in moving on from Bill a year earlier than they wanted to, because he had a 2-year deal. They wanted to continue. They wanted him to set the record here, but it became so untenable with him that they moved on. And I think with Gerard, they saw a terrific leader, a smart guy who needed seasoning. He was put into the position before he got the seasoning, and the tenor of the season was, we'll see how it works out. So they need to be more urgent. And I really think, Dan, that making a move within an hour of the game's end, when there was so much uncertainty whether or not a move would even be made, shows the urgency, I think, that they're feeling.
Do you make this move if you don't have that coach in waiting? Granted, you have to go through the process here, but do you think that they made that move knowing who they're going to hire?
I think they made that move knowing who they are going to pursue and feeling safe enough that the interest will be reciprocated, that they might be able to move on. You can't just move on and then hire, Bobby Slowick. Not that Bobby Slowick isn't a good candidate, but what ties does Bobby Slowick as an offensive coordinator in Houston have to the New England Patriots? The Patriots, it's very important to them to have somebody who has ties. So the most obvious candidate would be Mike Vrabel. Vrabel has always shown great deference to the Crafts in terms of what they built here, what this team's all about, and he would be the antidote. It was funny. I heard Rex Ryan talking about why he would be a good candidate for the Jets today. And in saying so, he said, you need somebody to understand that fan base and connect with that fan base. We're not talking about X's and O's, but that's exactly what Vrabel would do in a way I think that Bill didn't. Like Mayo was the antithesis of Bill in some ways. They need somebody to split the difference.
Talking to Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston insider. Knowing what you know of Tom Brady, there was a report that came out, Andrew Marchand, that Tom's probably going to be one and done, which would not surprise me, and maybe get more involved in the Raiders situation. But knowing Brady and how much involvement do you see him with the Raiders, and can you see a coaching change here?
Well, that's a good question. I think Antonio Pierce and Gerard have similar styles. I am not close enough to know exactly how the ins and outs are working there. I think if they did make a coaching change, what's germane to me in this, love using the word germane, is that it immediately makes me think, when you mentioned Brady, I thought you were going to say, well, they're going to go after Vrabel. And I wonder if that would be the case. In the case of Vrabel, I would think that Brady would see him as the best candidate out there. I think the Vrabel is the best candidate out there for a variety of reasons. The main one being experience.
Yeah.
Gerard failed in large part because he didn't have podium experience and couldn't anticipate what he was going to deal with. Vrabel is incredibly astute at dealing with that. And being one person at the podium, being one person behind the scenes with the media, being a certain way with everyone. So would Brady pursue Vrabel if he could get him? Would a bidding war ensue coast to coast for the services of Vrabel? I think that would be interesting to see, but I still think Vrabel would be more amenable to New England just because he was here for 10 years and understands this area as opposed to going all the way out to San Francisco and not knowing if Aiden O'Connell is his quarterback or Gardner Minshew, whereas Drake May is such a draw here.
Yeah, but I wonder if the Crafts are kind of
doing the same thing.
Well, they've slowed the progress. Everybody's a genius when you got the greatest coach and quarterback of all time. Then when you don't, then all of a sudden we're looking for answers here. Mm-hmm. And you have complete trust in the Crafts that they'll figure this out, and all of a sudden you guys restore the dignity here? No,
I don't. And I've said that a number of times. And I spoke to somebody high up in the organization today, and I said it very much reminds me of 1997 when they moved on from Parcells. They hired Pete Carroll because he was the antithesis of Parcells. And that team went from the Super Bowl to out of the playoffs in 3 years. And then they brought in a major domo type in Bill Belichick, and it went beautifully. The Crafts, I think, were out of practice football-wise. Bill had taken a hold of everything.
Yeah.
Said, this is my stuff. I do this. This is my football team. You guys run the organization. It's your franchise, my football team. And people like to think of the Crafts as puppet masters, and I just don't think that that's true. They ask questions and they register their disappointment if things don't go well. But I don't think they're making football decisions, and they don't want to. They need to get somebody at that friggin' level, Dan, who's making the football decisions. How do they know if their director of West Coast scouting is good or their FCC evaluations are good? They don't. So they need somebody above those personnel people who can make those decisions, who can look at a wide receivers coach and say, my God, what are you telling these guys? We got 3 catches from our rookies this year. What are we doing? So they need that, I think. So they're in the wilderness right now. But the notion that they're cheap or don't care about winning, I think, is bizarre, given, and that's pretty prevalent around here in New England. I think they care incredibly about winning.
Well, I didn't want Gerard Mayo to be fired, but if it meant that I could have you back on the show, then he had to pay the price. There's an upside. Yeah, there's an upside to that. So it's great.
I noticed Albert was in before me, huh?
Well, Fritzy, do you want to answer that with Tom Curran?
Yeah, there was a change of plans at the last minute. You know, sometimes someone's available at one time and then it's got to shift to another time. There's really no specific rhyme or reason. It's when everyone's available. It's not a list of top to bottom who's most important or anything.
Yeah, no, sounds kind of like what the Patriots went through. We were going to stick with it, but Albert was available.
You're our Gerard Mayo. Hey, great to talk to you.
All right, Dan.
Happy
New Year.
Thank you, buddy. Or I could ask you about Bill Belichick, by the way. Are you expecting Bill Belichick to be there for... Wait, why are you shaking your head?
I'm not. I don't.
Wait.
I don't think he's going to be there very long.
Where's he going?
I don't think it's going to go great either. It's not going to... It's not going to go the way people think it's going to go. He's not going to wave a magic Belichickian wand and have everybody. the portal is a real thing. There's no portal in the NFL. Those guys are going to get yelled at one time or told they don't know where their ass from their elbow, and they're going to be portaling like maniacs.
Yeah, but you don't have to, be, stuck with the salary cap or the draft. You can go out.
Kind of do. You do, though.
No, there's no draft.
Well, they want $20 million for spending on these players. So you have to figure out how are we going to spend money on these players, who gets allocated the most money. And that's
what Mike Lombardi does for him.
His eyes are going to be rolling like pinballs when he sees.
Okay, under 1.5 years at North Carolina.
Oh, that's a great one. I would say I would take the over, but if the odds are good enough, I would. The smart bet would be over, but I could say under. I mean, he's got an out next June.
I know.
He's basically announcing if something better comes along, see you, Chapel Hill.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Tom Curran, NBC Sports Insider.